Let me ask you a question. Has your bill 547, has it passed the Senate floor?
Oh yes, ma'am. It passed. It passed 24-8 on March the 12th.
So who's handling it in the House?
In the House, it's Representative Mumpower, and but I understand that the Representative Maddox and perhaps Turner were outspoken in their opposition to it.
So it has not moved in the House.
Correct. It's moved out of committee. I think it's on the desk of the floor of the House, and that's where it met its potential demise. And I just think everybody should realize that if it meets its demise there, then the State Election Commission will meet its demise here. I don't see where you'll have much choice. You can't renew something that's not properly constituted. So that was my request, and to give a little background and connect these dots, the action you've already taken on the other bill, which is on the House desk, and if that's the way they see it, then I don't think you all will have much choice. And I don't know that anyone will be the worse for it except the current members of the State Election Commission.
Are you all still in communication in the House?
Every day, with so many.
Let me ask you another question. In your way of thinking, are you going to be able to move it? I think someone has really screwed up the Election Commission. It looked like it started last year, but it doesn't speak very well, I think, of us as a governing body, that one of the committees that's so vital to us and to what our community thinks determines what our integrity is, that we could get in a posture like this. So then, if we allow them to die, I guess what I really want to ask, is there another agenda going on that we don't know about?
Not on the Senate side, because we all, and with your help, dealt with the issue. In other words, what Senate Bill 547 does is essentially akin to what this committee could do. Let's say that this committee had taken up the matter today. You might suggest legislation to properly reconstitute the State Election Commission. That's what we've already done in the Senate, and it's come through the committees, been to the floor. We sent it to the House. If they won't pass the bill you've sent them, they're not going to pass anything. And it leaves you really with your hands tied here. I'm proud of the way the Senate handled it in a bipartisan fashion, but they don't invite me to the House leadership meetings. That's outside my bailiwick.
Well, let me ask another question. Have you entertained the idea with them that maybe they get another House sponsor, if that will help to move it along, or is that an interest that you have?
That's not. I have not entertained that idea. My job was to work with you all and get it through the Senate.
Well,
I'm not sure, based on what they said, that they care who the sponsor is.
Well, let me ask Senator Johnson. Have you entertained the idea of maybe someone else signing on and carrying the bill if there's that kind of conversation, or if there's no conversation going on?
Madam Chair, it was my understanding in watching the video as well and discussing it with some members of the House who were present for the debate, that it did literally turn into a very partisan kind of issue, which really it shouldn't be. What we're trying to do is to make the Election Commission comply with statute, and I'll add one thing to what Senator Norris said. It's an interesting predicament that we're in that the majority control of the General Assembly happened to change mid-term for these state election commissioners. Interestingly, they serve 4-year terms. County election commissioners serve 2-year terms. And as you know, the composition of all 95 county election commissions changed, 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats. That was easily accomplished because they were at the end of their term. Well, now, I think it should be known, it's my understanding, one of the Democrat members of the State Election Commission offered to resign, but the statute states that a interim vacancy on the State Election Commission must be filled by someone of the same party.
That's right.
So there is no statutorily authorized way to change the composition of the State Election Commission other than what Senator Norris came up with, which is a perfectly reasonable solution, which is to add 2 members and make it 4-3, a 7-member body for the remaining 2 years. Now, as to who the House sponsor is, if there are personal issues regarding the House sponsor, that shouldn't get in the way of passing a reasonable bill. To answer your question, Madam Chairman, I have not had any conversations and don't know that it would be my place or Senator Norris's place to suggest a different sponsor of the bill.
I didn't say suggested. What I was looking at was your ability to move it to another level, if that's amenable with the leadership in the House.
Well, it made it all the way through the committee system in the House, which, as we know, is somewhat arduous, and made it to the floor, and I believe the vote was 48 to 48. 48 ayes, 48 noes, and therefore it sits on the desk. It can be brought back to the floor for further consideration, and I think our hope, and I think Senator Norris's hope, is that in light of perhaps there wasn't an adequate understanding of the need to make it lawful, or otherwise it cannot continue to exist. And so what I wanted Senator Norris to address with this committee is we will roll this for one more week. We hope that next week will be our last committee meeting for Senate government operations. So they essentially have 7 days to either deal with this issue, or we will be more or less forced to allow the State Election Commission to sunset. And none of us want that to happen. That could create some issues. I'm sure we can handle those issues through the Secretary of State's office. But the simpler thing to do would be to pass this bill, add 2 members to the State Election Commission for the next 2 years, and then we can reconstitute the 5-member body in 2 years, assuming that the control of the General Assembly, if it changes back to Democratic control, then it'll be 3-2 Democrat.
You could use the same mechanism that you'd passed under 547 to use either way any time in midterm. That was sort of the...
Let me recognize Senator Barnes.